Peace, peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Behind the Final Call cover story. Um, we have some not great news, but Allah is indeed the best knower. I want to say Ramadan Mubarak, a blessed Ramadan for all of those who are joining us today. And just want to let you know once again, we are at another edition of Behind the Final Call cover story. On the cover this week is our brother DMX, Remembering Hip Hop Icon. This is volume number 40, number 28. The date on the paper is April 20th, 2021. And of course, I have, as always, my brother, my friend, Brother Naba Muhammad, the editor of the Final Call newspaper. Brother Naba, as I always ask, why this cover story?
Well, first of all, Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Kareem. Certainly, this cover is, in a sense, one of a series of different covers we've done in recent years, really highlighting the lives and the legacy of those who have impacted us in different ways, often through their music and often through their social activism or efforts to help our people make progress tied to their activism or what their music meant or their artistic gifts meant to our people. So certainly, Brother DMX is in that number. He certainly was known not only for his very unique delivery and his use of words and words play and audio imagery, if you will, but his vulnerability, as he struggled like we all struggled. So we hoped that in our coverage, we would be able to share something of who he is, what he represented, what we learned, and the importance of his life, the lessons of his life, and the love that he shared throughout his life. So stories available at finalcall.com. And of course, you will be able to get it out on the streets in the print edition, which has really, I would encourage everyone to really get this week's print edition. Not only do we have a great cover photo, but we've got a great spread of photos and information on pages 2 and 3. And then on pages 20 and 21, we really have a great word that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan shared with our brother's family as he was in a very difficult state before his passing in the hospital. And that includes a full-page photo of brother as well. So, there's some things that digitally are great, but there's some things, there's nothing like good old-fashioned publication in your hand that you can hold and that you can have as a keepsake, as a memento. And got a beautiful image on the cover, which we got from a Black photographer. And so get the print edition. Of course, you can subscribe to the digital edition and you can read the article now at finalcall.com. But I would encourage us to actually try to get our hands on the print edition, whether we get it from a member of the FOI or if we call the Final Call at 773-602-1230, extension 200, and try to see if we can order a copy or two or a few of this historic edition of the paper.
Thank you very much, Brother Naba. And just want to highlight that picture. We usually go to the minister's article kind of as one of the last closing, but I think it would be worthwhile, since we did just talk about the cover story and it directly connects. Very beautiful words spoken by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan before his passing, to really comfort the family. And as always, taking the opportunity to provide guidance for those who Allah has blessed to continue to have this beautiful gift of life. So definitely want to make sure that you check out his article. That's the beautiful picture that you referred to that is actually on page 20 of the paper, which is where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's article usually begins. But this edition, a picture of our brother Earl Simmons, known as brother rapper DMX, is in that spot. And then immediately following that, as Brother Naba mentioned, words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Anything else you want to share in terms of those words? Or of course, we encourage you to check out, get the digital edition of the paper and check it out yourself. But any other notes you want to before we?
I think that it is very fitting and amazing that our people reach out to Minister Farrakhan.
That's right.
Often in times of trouble, in times where they are hurting and they need a comforter. And that is the role that this man plays and has played. And remember, Minister Farrakhan, if hip hop is 40 years old, the minister has had an association, and the Nation of Islam has had an association with hip hop from the beginning. Not only because of the 5 percenters, many of whom were very, very instrumental in this art form, and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the teachings of Clarence 13X of the 5% movement. The minister for years has been like a father speaking to, in particular, artists in the hip hop community. He has worked to squash beefs over the years. He has worked to help try to uplift, educate, if you will, elucidate what is happening in the world, get these brothers and sisters to understand, often from a spiritual view, what is happening in the world, and their role in helping to elevate their people and in the beauty and the value of their gifts. So this is really fitting that the minister's words to this family, not, if you will, a celebrity associated group, if you will. But I think these words speaking to a family that was in the process of losing a loved one. The minister spoke before Brother DMX made his transition. But his words are words of love and words of instruction and words of inspiration. And in a time like this, we all need that type of word. So I would encourage everybody, please go to finalcall.com right now and take the opportunity to read those words, because I think they're not only valuable for the family of Brother DMX, but I think they're valuable to all of us as we ponder life, the purpose of life, the beauty of life, the gifts that we are blessed to have, and how we can maximize those gifts for ourselves, our families, as well as our community.
Thank you, Brother Naba. Beautiful words, and as he said, I can't stress enough the importance and value of actually checking out the paper yourself and hearing, or not hearing, but actually that's the thing, is like with the digital edition, you are able to hear the words read to you, not from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's voice, but you're able to hear those words read to you. But also make sure you support the brothers in the street, and that you take advantage of divine guidance in a time as we're living in today and now. So let's move right on to the next article in the paper that we're going to cover. And of course, as we say all the time, we're not going to cover it all. You got to get your own copy of the Final Call newspaper. And of course, if you want to be one of the first to get it, you can get your subscription. And honestly, like Brother Naba said, sometimes it's good to have the paper physically, But it's sometimes it's good to have both. I mean, for me, on some particular editions, it's actually really kind of cool to be able to have with me all the time the paper. But I still like paper. Even though I'm a techie, I still in many instances like to actually have the physical paper with me. So with that said, we're going to go jump to the next story. And that is on page 4 of the paper. And that article is titled America Criminal Justice is on Trial. Black America Still Copes.
Yeah, America's criminal justice system is still on trial while Black America still copes. This is, of course, our coverage this week of the trial of Officer Derek Chauvin. Of course, that trial is ongoing, and it just outlines some elements of the case as well as the reaction of Black folks to this case. And this case has struck such a chord with Blacks that even college professors and even others that are professionals, some are refusing to even look at the trial itself. Some are reading transcripts, others are reading reports about what happens because it is so traumatic. So we know today, which is April 13th, the defense started to put on its case and make its case. And we already know that what has been consistent from the defense counsel, and even though you see one person in the courtroom representing Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer, that one person who you see in the courtroom is backed by an additional 12 lawyers and about $1 million in support from a law enforcement officers kind of protection or support group. And we know that throughout the testimony, the defense lawyer's strategy has been to use really different scenarios and different suppositions and different what ifs, but none of them, hardly any of them, I would say really none of them, have anything to do with what actually happened that day in which brother George Floyd lost his life. So please read it. Very important story. And under that, we have the story of Daunte Wright. Amazingly, this young man lost his life to police officers in a suburb of Minneapolis, even as the Chauvin trial was underway. About 10 minutes from where this case is being adjudicated, this young man lost his life in an encounter with police officers, and a 26-year police veteran and shot and killed this young man. And the police chief said he believed it was an accident. Well, as of today, both that officer, who was identified by the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, her name is Kim Potter, and she resigned today, as did the police chief resigned today. And so I think we really need to understand, when an officer pulls a revolver or pulls their service weapon, rather, their service weapon is on one side of their body. The taser is on the total opposite side of their body. So in order to draw a taser, an officer has to reach across their body. Why? To make sure there are no quote unquote accidents. Somehow or another, this officer, who is now resigned, pulled this weapon, shot and killed this young man, and there's talk of an accident. We don't know what happened. We need an investigation. An accident is not the same of as gross misconduct and neglect and recklessness. They are not the same things. And so now this young man, his mother, his father, his aunt, his family members, the family members of Daunte Wright, 20 years old, they are now hurting. The mother of his child is hurting. So we will continue to follow this story. It is not shocking, but we would say it is an indicator of something happening in this country that we're going to, I believe, have to face up to. But I'll speak more about that when we get to my editorial. But this is certainly another instance in which a black man, a black person's life has been taken without due cause. And we see it today. We see it yesterday when what should be an innocuous interaction with a police officer becomes deadly. Daunte Wright was allegedly stopped, depending on what story you believe, either because he had air fresheners hanging from his window, which are not allowed in Minnesota, or some expiration of his tags. But I don't think it's unusual that tags would be expired during a pandemic when motor vehicles, offices, and others have been closed. So we need to watch this case very carefully. There were protests, of course, the last couple days as anger rises. And this happened, of course, in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. So by Allah's grace, we will continue to cover this story. We saw police release flashbang grenades. We saw them release tear gas and other gas to get protesters to disperse last night because there was a curfew and the night before. But this is horrible.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that update, Brother Nava. And actually, I get these notifications from the city of Chicago, and there was a notification that went out. The city is monitoring events nationwide, while no actionable intelligence out of caution. Assets are strategically staged citywide for safety. So that was the text message that I received last night as they awaited something happening, but the energy and resources that can be put into the stopping of a natural response of a people to injustice, that there's not necessarily enough resources being put behind doing those types of things that would stop the killing of Black men, which goes back to, the importance and value of separation. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said is the best and only solution for our condition. So thank you for sharing the story, and just lets us know that we got to do something for ourselves. We can't expect or think that anybody's going to do what we have the ability to do for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that more and more of our people are beginning to come to a point of resolution where they're trying to figure out, okay, what exactly are we doing? And what exactly are the outcomes we're seeking? And can we ever get the outcomes that we are seeking, which is essentially simply to live in peace?
That's right.
And if these current methods are not working, what does that mean? And I think the unfortunate reality is, as we see the loss of life, and as you see Chicago preparing itself for a possible response, there were protests in New York over the last couple of days. It is because all of this is seen as part of a national problem and a national crisis in terms of the destruction of Black life.
Yes, sir.
So, in order for Black people to respond with outrage, with anger, with hurt, with pain, to be pushed over the edge, it doesn't have to happen in their city because it's happened in so many cities, often including their own cities. But justice has not been given. So you see a natural emotional response. And then you hear people, in particular the mainstream news media, asking hurting, broken-hearted family members or community members, well, what about the violence? In the Nation of Islam, we are taught to obey the law so long as it does not conflict with our religion. We are taught to respect people's rights to life, liberty, property. But it is absolutely, in my view, out of place to ask a family to respond in the midst of their pain and the loss of a loved one about the actions of others and actions that were caused by the killing of an unarmed person by a police officer when it was unnecessary. And instead of dealing with the action of the police officer and dealing with that violence initiated by the police officer,
That's right.
instead of dealing with the cause, now you want to deal with an effect. Instead of dealing with an action, now you want to talk about a reaction. What really should be focused on is the lack of justice, the lack of accountability, the failure to convict police officers.
Yes, sir.
Some months ago, maybe a year ago, when people were in the street across the country after the killing of brother George Floyd, and they were in the streets in different places, literally in countries throughout the world, there was talk of this great change. There hasn't been a change. You just saw an unarmed young Black male shot to death 2 days ago. Today being April 13th. The killings of Black people by police officers over the last year have not decreased. As a matter of fact, if you go to finalcall.com and if you look at coverage from last week, you actually have states that have passed or are working to pass laws that would stifle protests and offer more protections to police officers. So what happened to the huge wave of change? So we have to be wise and aware. But the country is steadily approaching a very dangerous point, and we say that as a voice of caution, not to incite anyone or anything. But certainly you don't have to be a medium to see the spirit in the country, to see the pain in Black people, and to see the recalcitrance of whites when it comes to actually taking action in terms of police accountability and sending police officers to jail. So what you may get is a settlement from a city or some other body, if it's a county government or a state law enforcement agency, that is given to those who lose a loved one or who are violated or hurt or crippled or maimed by a loved one. But those payments come out of the pockets of taxpayers. So this continued lack of consequence for errant, rogue, reckless policing continues.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But praise due to Allah, we got work to do, and we'll do our part and not expect them. And we can't expect justice from someone who hasn't given us justice. And going to that, the next article just further demonstrates that when a peacemaker is trying to make peace, and there's someone that's on the scene that is trying to and effectively improving the condition of Black people, that that's not always considered the way that it should be. So next article, page 5, attacking the peacemakers. Media's ugly anti-Farrakhan obsession surfaces during a tragedy.
This is, of course, related to the incident at the U.S. Capitol in early April 2nd, in which authorities and the media say a young man essentially tried to run a barricade, attacked officers, and was shot to death. His name was Noah Green. He was studying to become a member of the Nation of Islam, but did not become a member. What happened after this unfortunate incident, and the death of a U.S. Capitol Police officer and another officer was injured, there was a huge effort by the mainstream media to try to connect this incident with the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, despite our 90-year history in this country. You don't see us engaging in violence. We are prohibited from carrying weapons. We are prohibited from committing acts of violence on ourselves or others. We are prohibited from being the aggressor. We are allowed, because we have the God-given right to defend ourselves if we are attacked. So the mainstream media really, again, tried to slant, misportray, misrepresent this young man and his connections with the Nation of Islam. So we basically essentially talked to some experts, some leaders, some scholars about the true history of the nation, the true mission of the nation, and why we see this continual media misrepresentation. And part of it, of course, age-old, not only hatred of Black people and opposed to anything that is in our best interest and anything that will lead us to self-determination and independence, but also the outright opposition of the U.S. government through counterintelligence programs at the federal level and infiltration schemes at the local and state police level, as well as mainstream media, again, being a force to push these lies and these narratives to make us this ugly other, which we are not. So we want you to read that article, definitely, so that you can read analysis and get some understanding of what is going on, why these assaults on the nation, why, and what their ultimate goal is. And you can read those who talk about the truth of what the Nation of Islam represents, which is a movement for freedom, justice, and equality. And we believe in justice for all, whether in God or not, and regardless of race, creed, class, or color.
Thank you, Brother Naba. And in addition to that, for those who may not have seen it, I would encourage you to visit NOI.org, and there you can actually get the Nation of Islam's official statement that was made on the U.S. Capitol. So if you have not had the opportunity to check that out, please, once again, go to NOI.org, and there's a banner right up top, the Nation of Islam official statement on the U.S. Capitol assault. And just one thing is just reflecting on, we're taught in the Holy Quran that whenever an evil man brings you news, we should look carefully into it. And there has been a history of incidents happening in the United States, and and where the first name that comes up is the Nation of Islam. Without investigation, our name pops up. So this is nothing new, unfortunately, but another reason why we have to have independent media and why your support of the Final Call newspaper is so important. So I have to take it to a lighter note with all of these things going on, is that in a time of trouble, in a time of disaster, and all of these troubling things, the Nation of Islam, the FOI, are still out in the community, striving in an effort, a noble effort. Can you give us a little bit just why these is important, that I believe almost on a weekly basis that we show the light that by Allah's permission that the Nation of Islam has been able to have, in not only in Chicago, but through cities throughout the country? Why is it important that we have that? And what can you give us a little bit about this week's article that shows our community work and efforts?
Well, what we have this week, we showcase pictures from the cities of Charlotte, North Carolina, Phoenix, Muskegon, Michigan, New York, and Chicago. Because one, we want to salute and we want to recognize and we want to applaud the men of the Fruit of Islam, the men of the Nation of Islam, who take the Final Call newspaper and this word of warning and truth in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a dangerous disease. But they are, as you can see, masked up, gloved up, PPE ready to go and meet our people to try to save and to, again, comfort the suffering people by giving them the life-saving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the divine guidance and words contained in the message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So these men are doing a mighty work. We are proud of their work. We are part of the FOI. And we want to show our people that there is hope. By Allah's grace, we are still on the job. And by Allah's grace, we are working to do a magnificent job. We are working to deliver a magnificent service as an act of love, as a display of brotherhood, and as we try to show that self-improvement is the basis for community development. So as we, as members of the FOI, the Fruit of Islam, the name given to the military training of the men who belong to Islam in North America and now other places, as we work to improve ourselves, we work to uplift our people. So this is an ongoing effort, and it is our pleasure and our duty to highlight the work of these great brothers.
Praise to Allah. Thank you. And I just want to thank those who are supporting us by spending your time and your resources, which the most important, valuable thing that you have is your time, but you've chosen to spend your time with us, and we appreciate you taking that time out of your day. And we ask that you, if you find benefit and value of this, that you like it, as well as share with others who may not take the time to read the paper, but we want to provide another alternative and opportunity for our people to know what's going on in the world. And it can be sometimes a little overwhelming and depressing, but it's all praises are due to Allah that there's light. There's still a light that's in the world. And that one of those lights, of course, is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and those who follow him. So all praises are due to Allah for that. And, didn't intend on this, but man, with all of these things, Brother Nava, I know these aren't all the articles that we planned, but my tone just kind of lowered just after hearing all of this disaster and all of these things that are going on. I thought it was important that we jump into a few of these other articles. And that next one right on the other side of the page, the sweetest sound this side of heaven. The Final Call Radio celebrates 1 year of spreading truth all around the world. Can you give us a little bit about, for those who may not know, which they must have been under a rock someplace, can you let them know about Final Call Radio?
Well, Final Call Radio, and you can log on. Just go to finalcall.com and just click the little link or the little image that says Final Call Radio, and you will be able to hear completely, or excerpts rather, you will be able to hear the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You will be able to hear music from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And this Final Call Radio develops under Brother Michael Saunders and Student Supreme Captain Mustafa Farrakhan. It continues to add news and other information. So Final Call Radio allows us to be able to communicate with one another. It allows us to speak to one another. And so we have to continue to grow, to create, to make ourselves independent. And we do that by being able to speak for ourselves and being able to speak to one another. So the Final Call plays an incredible role in that. And it's a beautiful, beautiful testament to vision, to hard work. And we should support it. We should back it. And read the article and just get a taste of what's happened over the first year of its existence. We got some words, of course, from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan about the value of Final Call Radio. And we want you to really, really, really tune in and listen and hear a word that is life-changing, life-saving, and divinely inspiring.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Naba. And of course, mixed in with those beautiful words of inspiration and guidance from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you can catch on occasion a clip or two from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's album or box set, Let's Change the World. And as well as hearing those who are supporters of the Final Call Radio, believers from all across the country and all across the world. So make sure you take the opportunity. You can go to Final Call, as mentioned, finalcall.com, and there is a banner that says Final Call Radio. So make sure you check that out.
And Final Call Radio has reached over 100 countries in its first year. Wow. And over 1 million people. So let's keep, as the minister said, let's keep going and let's keep growing.
Praise you to Allah. And in addition to it, even though you may have saw on that page where it said, mentioned that there was a radiothon, 72 hours, April 2nd to the 4th, is you still can make your donation. You still can make a donation to help support this great work. So we look forward to it. We thank you for all those that have. We thank those for what you have done, and we thank all of those who will help as well. What is your praise due to Allah. So yes, sir. I'm looking in the comments. People want to know how they can support. We're gonna make sure that I have that up next time, inshallah. All praises are due to Allah. Yes, just want to encourage you once again, please make sure that you share this program with others who may not be on right now, or many people who don't even know that it exists. So please make sure that you support by at least making sure that you let somebody else know what's going on. All praises are due to Allah. So keep it moving. And I am going to the next article that we're going to cover. And that would be, of course, we want to make sure that we're keeping our people abreast on what's going on as it relates to COVID. Can you give us a little bit on this article, COVID-19 variants, vaccine passports, and concerning case spikes?
Yeah, this is of course part of our weekly, what is pretty much weekly coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic by our national correspondent, Sister Charlene Muhammad. Read it. It's talking about, again, this problem of variants, talking about the injuries suffered, talking about so many of the things that you are not hearing, because there's literally been a media blackout or whiteout, a media whiteout of voices that give you a different point of view. So we say read the article, read about how these variants are developing. Now there's some news today, April 13th, that the Johnson and Johnson vaccine is going to be halted as they deal with problems or concerns about blood clotting. Continue to read the final call, brothers and sisters, and get a different source for your information, because we are seeking the truth and we're trying to show you that and share that which we believe is important, valuable, and literally life-saving.
Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you, thank you. And of course, in addition to the coverage that the final call has been doing on a regular basis, weekly basis, actually, is that it's important that you check out, the resources that the Nation of Islam is providing so that you can do your own research and you can find not just what's being pushed down our throats, but you can find out alternative perspectives on what's going on with this vaccine. And even though in many instances, as soon as something comes up, it's taken down, it's censored, we do have resources available that you can check out at noi.org/vaccine. So please, please, please do yourself a favor and check those resources out right there. Oh, okay. So moving on, we have, and of course, you can see there's a lot that we're skipping right over. Important article from our brother Jaron Muhammad, who does the article Africa Watch. So make sure you check that article out that is dealing with actually Mozambique's crisis fueled by corporate government greed, not ISIS. Definitely always providing a different perspective, alternative of what's going on. So make sure you check that out. If you didn't check out, this is an ad in the paper, but you want to make sure there are probably still those out there, Brother Naba, who have not heard the lecture that Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did on July 4th of last year, the Criterion. It is very prophetic in that many of the things that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said was going to happen is happening now, and he provided us guidance then for the day and time in which we're living in now. So if you have not had the opportunity, go to store.finalcall.com and get that lecture and listen to it and feed off of it over and over and over again. You will not be wasting your time at all. So make sure you check that out at store.finalcall.org. And then we have, of course, there's tons of things that are going on in international news. Our Muslim family across the country or across the world, we have clashes in Myanmar. I know I jacked that up. Help me out, Brother Naba.
What's up? Myanmar.
Myanmar.
It used to be called Burma.
And, the humanitarian efforts that are going on, you want to make sure that you're keeping abreast on what's going on around the world. And the Final Call is a beautiful publication that allows you to do that. Scrolling through, and want to jump to an article that I know Brother Naba is definitely looking forward to touching on. And that is the editorial, Murder in Minneapolis. You touched on it a little bit, but can you give us the importance and why you felt the need to deal with the murder in Minneapolis?
Again, this is, I think, even more for me important, given that today, April 13th, we started to watch the defense lawyers make their case, so-called case, if you will, or defend the action of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin and his alleged role or responsibility for the death of our brother George Floyd. In the editorial, I just basically lay out what has been presented during the trial, how science, how experts, how models, how images have all been used to show that our brother George Floyd didn't die from some drug overdose. He didn't die from some mysterious ailment. He did not die because he was destined to die. But according to the experts from the prosecution and according to what they presented, he died because someone kneeled on his neck for nearly 10 minutes, despite being handcuffed, despite lying face down in the street, despite onlookers begging an officer to get off of his neck. So, brothers and sisters, I say just please read the editorial because we point out some things, but we close with this reality that we believe our community and our people are going to have to come face to face with. The question is, can we live among Caucasian people in peace? Read the editorial and you decide. And why don't you tell me what you think?
Well, I'll answer that question for those who may not already know. No, but still read the article. Read the article and get more extensive explanation on why it's not going to work. Let's move on to the next article. And of course, can't say it enough that separation is the best and only solution. And in this beautiful time of the year for Muslims, and actually a friend of mine, a brother that we've known each other for quite a few years, he called me yesterday. He is not a registered Muslim and would not probably consider himself a Muslim, but he said, "Hey, Ramadan's coming up. You know, man, I think I wanna participate in the fast." So one of the things that I encourage those who, of course, those who are already Muslims and know that they're Muslims, they're probably already engaged in the fast of Ramadan, a beautiful experience, an opportunity for us to reinvigorate our faith and our belief and our practice. But for those who may not be Muslims or don't acknowledge or know that they're Muslims yet, this is an opportunity for you to strengthen yourself and learn more about Islam and the benefits of Ramadan. Can you give us a little bit about our brother Imam Sultan Rahman's article, The Month of Ramadan, A Time of Reflection and Self-Correction?
Well, this is a beautiful article by the National Imam of the Nation of Islam, Imam Sultan Rahman Muhammad, was also a grandson of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it is a beautiful article about what Ramadan means intrinsically, its value in terms of our spiritual development, its value in terms of our human development, and what it means as we stay on the path to be the best people that we can be. And so we want you to go to finalcall.com or subscribe at finalcall.digital.com so that you can hear this amazing, so that you can read this amazing article that focuses not on somebody else, but on you and on me. And what we can do to put ourselves in a position to benefit ourselves. What does this month mean historically? What does it mean spiritually? What is the basis for what we believe? Right? What is it about the practice of self-restraint and stillness and fasting? How does that help us? So we want you to read it because Brother Imam Sultan, I think, did a very good job of presenting good information, the useful information, not just information that is so ethereal that you can't even understand it, but this is good information, spiritually based, that can help you improve your actual life.
And honestly, I have not had the opportunity to get to that article yet and read it myself, but I definitely plan on getting to it today. So thank you. And once again, Ramadan Mubarak for all of those who are out there celebrating Ramadan right now. we want to go, of course, to a very important article, as always, the article from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, The Great Commotion.
This again, it talks about the time that we're in, the enemy that we're suffering under, what we can expect, and what we need to do in this time. I mean, so brothers and sisters, this is supreme wisdom and guidance. This is not just happenstance or just anybody talking. This is a man whose work has endured for 90 years, despite efforts to totally destroy it, and despite efforts to write him out of history. But truth crushed the earth shall rise again, and we are seeing more and more every day, the value of this man's teaching. So read it. I wanted to say a couple things because I'm just kind of scrolling through the chat. One is Gigi Taylor. Please call 773-602-1230, extension 200 if you'd like to order the paper. To Sister Dolores Spraggs, yes, you can subscribe to the digital edition for yourself, and it will not in any way impact your subscription for your husband. If you have any problems, please reach out to me. My email address is editor at finalcall.com, or reach out to me through our website. But definitely get your digital edition, and we will make sure your husband's subscription is in no way affected. So let me see who else we have here.
And just while you're scrolling through there, please make sure once again that you like and share. And we've been doing a lot better. We missed last week, but inshallah, we're gonna be on a roll every week, trying to get this word out and the message. So please make sure that you encourage us and support us, and let us know if you like what we're doing. If there's some things that you think that we may need to tweak a little bit, let us know. We're definitely open so that we can better serve you to the best of our ability.
Right. And for Sister Melody at Simonton, go to finalcall.com, click on, there should still be a banner there, excuse me, that allows you to donate to Final Call Radio. If you have any problems, contact us through the website, and we will work to make sure that you're connected and you are able to give the support that you want to give. And we appreciate your spirit and your love, and we can definitely use the support. As far as the Collective 9 Cash App, Brother Troy will deal with that. I don't know if he'll deal with that today. If not today, in next week, inshallah. But thank you all for your questions, and feel free to let us know what you think, and your reactions to the articles in the paper. And you can do that through the website as well, finalcall.com.
Thank you, Brother Naba. And we've been trying to stay, and I think we did a pretty good job of staying right up under the hour. If you have thoughts in the audience on how long you think the show should be, please let us know. And if we got a few minutes, does anybody have a question that they would like to pose to the editor? I'm putting them on the spot. Is there any questions out there before we close out? Going once? Going twice? Well, inshallah, God willing, next week, if we have time, you can say that question for next week, and inshallah, we will try to get to it next week. But Brother Naba, before we close out, I'm gonna try to sneak in some top secret information. Can you give us any clue? And I think you've already kind of touched on some things that may be in next week's edition of the paper, but you got anything you can share with us?
Well, I think one, rebuilding the wasted cities. What does that mean, and how black folk involved in it today. You might want to check out the final call next week and see that. Are you familiar with the suffering of Muslims in China? You might want to read the final call next week and learn about that. If you want to stay in touch or on top or get some insight into the killing of our brother Dante Wright in a suburb outside of Minneapolis, you just might want to read next week's edition of the final call. And by Allah's grace, I can guarantee you, if we publish next week, you can look forward to an important article from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and an important message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That, by Allah's grace, if we publish, we can promise you.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Brother Naba. Of course, for those who may have missed a previous episode of Behind the Final Call story, or you want to check out some of the other publications or other videos that we've done in the past, we have done over approximately 60 videos, Brother Naba. Wow. 60 videos going back. So this is nothing new. We've had our down periods, but by Allah's permission, we look forward to continue to serve you and provide you the final call news and providing you a different what address is it? Oh, Sister Donna said, what is the address? I can put that in the chat right now. And you can find most of these or many of these on the Facebook page of the Final Call newspaper, but as well as on the Collective 9. And if you go there, and I'm going to show that real quick, because Tom, Mac, can you believe 60 episodes? Wow. And you can see how it's evolved, how it's changed. Of course, we love your feedback on your thoughts on how the program has evolved, the things that you may have liked about the previous, how we've evolved in the past and the changes that we made. But you can look through, man, a lot has gone on. We've had our special episodes in which we had the Africa economic ramifications coronavirus. And there's another one that's missing that we had with Busta Rhymes that was on.
Wait, Busta Rhymes is missing?
No. There was an episode we did with Busta Rhymes.
Wait, the episode with Busta Rhymes is missing?
Yeah. It'll be up. We get that right there.
We about to call the investigator right now.
Yes, sir. But you can see, man, from us pre-COVID at the foodie spot, we have episodes that if you look in there, you know, man, we at the Final Call building, you know, really trying to figure this out and how we best could do it. Right there, we're in the Final Call building. This goes back to the first episode was on September 4th, 2018. At the Final Call building, and that was when we were dealing with the passing of our sister Aretha Franklin. So please check out the site, check out the videos. Of course, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. There's other videos there that I'm quite sure you'll be interested in and find informative. But until next time, we look forward, God willing, to see you next week. Brother Naba, any closing words?
Just go to finalcall.com. and make sure you subscribe and make sure you get your copy from the Brothers on the Street. Better yet, why don't you talk to them and get it delivered to your home every week? You won't miss an edition that way.
That's right. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. Until next week, Behind the Final Call cover story.